So I've done years and years of coach training, of honing my skills. And my next guest was part of a workshop that I was in, and she actually was asked to give a little piece of gold to the workshop participants. And we were all coaches, so she had an uphill battle because we all know our stuff and we all good at what we do, and we're all looking at everybody critically. And Louise George brought this new technology, new to me, about the different intelligences we have in the body, the head, the heart, the gut, and there's more of that. And she brought us through some exercises, which changed my life. It changed the way I made decisions. I've taught it to my clients, to CEOs who have regurgitated it back to me and told me how it's changed their lives. I taught it to my son, who's now in Israel in yeshiva, and he made that decision through what I learned from Louise. She is a successful actress. She has the Soul Fire Sessions podcast. She's a transformational life and success coach. She's a speaker. She's an author. She's freaking amazing. And I just wanted her on my podcast to talk about her evolution. So Louise, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. You're like, it's warming my heart just being here because we haven't spoken for a little while, but I was saying just before we went live, it feels like yesterday and forever ago since I want to hug you. Like,
yeah, so no, totally. And you know, it's what's funny is because of social media and because I follow you on social media, I was talking to this with Jeff Harmon. We did a series on LinkedIn and we were talking about social media and how I feel like I have connections to people because I see them on social media. So I watch what you're doing. I see how you're going, what you're up to, but I'm not really connected to you. Right. Like, so we have a heart connection, which knows no time. Because again, it's like 5 minutes has gone by, but that false connection. So it you know, time, and then especially this past year has been really kind of rough on everybody.
Yeah, really rough and has gone really fast. But and that's the good and the bad of social media, right? The great thing about it is we are so connected and we do stay in touch with people that we otherwise would lose contact with. But at the same time, because we feel that connection, we're not actually reaching out as much as we would like to, you know, and because we feel like we're having conversations in those snippets of life that we're seeing from people.
So cool. So I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a while, since the beginning. And, you know, we kind of connected, then we lost touch, COVID happened, all kinds of stuff's happened. So now I finally have you here. And I want you to, I really, this M-braining thing changed everything for me. In the way I look at my relationship with my head saying one thing, my heart saying another thing, my gut saying another. Would you explain to people what you brought to me that day?
So first of all, thank you for the intro. And I was so nervous teaching that because not only was I in a group of coaches, incredible coaches, but I was new to the group relatively as well. So
by the way, I remember the group of coaches that you were talking to, and we were the most arrogant, know-it-all group of coaches you could have possibly had. And
I know.
And we all at the end just sat there in awe, just all of it. You humbled us right to the ground, and it was beautiful. So yeah, and nobody knew you were nervous because you were just so lovely and so masterful. So what was it? What's the technology called?
So M-braining, it's multi-brain integration techniques essentially. So we've typically been taught and go through life using our head brain, right? This is what we think of when we talk about the brain in our head. And we make decisions from this place, and we approach life and work from this head brain, making decisions, weighing up the pros and cons of things. But actually, our heart and our gut are independent brains. They're independent intelligences, and their brains in that they have their own neural pathways and connections. And so the art of M-braining is learning about these intelligences individually and then getting coherence between them. What happens so often, because we're coming from our head brain, I call it kind of doing life and business from the neck up, you know, head braining our way to success. But actually, there's often a conflict between what we think we should want from our head brain and what we actually truly desire, which is our heart brain. And the way I describe it to my clients is thinking of it like your heart is your CEO. This is the vision. This is the truth and the desires. It's like your soul guiding you. Your gut is like the board, your board of directors. So you want to consult the board before you go ahead and act on that vision. And then finally, your head brain is super powerful, but think of this as like your assistant, your executive assistant. So we want to listen to our heart, follow our gut, and direct our head, because the executive assistant absolutely can run your company, and most cases they do, but they're not responsible for the vision and what direction you want it to go in, right? So that's just a simple way of explaining it, and one that I find really easy to kind of grasp and anchor into.
That's so good, because I talk all the time about visionaries and implementers, right? So
Yeah.
there's 7 visionaries to every implementer, right?
Mm.
So without an implementer, a visionary is basically homeless. We
Yeah.
have great ideas, but we'll never follow through on anything. But without the visionary, you wouldn't have an Apple, you wouldn't have, right, a Tesla, you wouldn't have these things. So you
Mm.
actually need the checks and balances on that CEO, which is your heart. You also talked about how the heart is the seat of desire and
Mm.
connection, and then you
Yeah.
said that the gut was the seat of identity and safety.
Yeah. So this is why I say it's the board. We want to consult and check in with, I've got this vision. What do you guys think of it? So, the gut is where our identity is. It's responsible for our fight, flight, freeze response. So if we're going to take action on something, or if we're not. So checking in with, and there are certain questions to ask, and how you're communicating from different intelligences. So you want to be asking heart desired based questions. So what is it that I truly desire? The gut is identity and safety. So what do I need? What is it that I need to take action on this or not? And then the head is all about thoughts. Like, what do you think about this, head brain? And we need space to be able to communicate with these intelligences as well, in order to get responses to these questions. And you will get responses if you ask these questions. So spending time in stillness and silence, and actually putting your hand on your heart and asking, what do I truly desire? Putting your hand on your gut and checking in with your identity, and whether you're going to take action on something or not. What is it that I need to feel safe here? Right? What is it that's aligned with my identity here? And then head, what do I think about this?
So again, so how do you know which is answering? So you sit there and you talk to your heart. How do you know your heart's talking and your head's not talking?
So it's paying attention. So head typically is an easy one to know if it's speaking, because it's very loud. It's like ego based. It's quite loud. It will shout. It will respond first. You're always going to get a response from head very easily, very quickly, because this is the supercomputer, right? It's really very powerful and loud. And it's often unkind as well. It'll come in very quickly with, you should do this. Like, this is what I think. It's very, very direct, very, very quick to come in. The heart and the gut are much quieter. They need space and time. And particularly as we're not used to listening to these intelligences, they've got even quieter. So we must cultivate time to be able to hear. And again, it's paying attention to that language. Thoughts, shoulds, anything around this kind of language is typically head. The quieter voice of desire, of want, of vision is heart. And then identity, anything that's identity based or need based, those answers are coming from your gut, right? So it's paying attention to those quieter voices, giving yourself space to be able to hear those quieter voices, and paying attention to the language. So thought-based language, head; desire-based language, heart; and need-based language, gut.
So again, since the day that you taught this to me, I went and researched it, and I've been practicing it. And what I realize is my heart will be like, oh, I want to do this. So only tens, right? Only tens is, you only do what is either important. You want the reward, you want to avoid the consequence, or, it's an agreement that you made. So I
Yeah.
want to do this. I want to do this. And then my gut is like, you can do this, but you need to make sure this, this, and this. Or if you
Mm-hmm.
do this, remember you're sacrificing this, right? And my gut's always like in there, and then my head's like, well, we need this, and if we want to do this, we need to do that. We need to do that. And by the way, this is your fear, and this is your fear, and this is your fear. Am I getting this close?
Yeah, and this is where we can get into conflict, because often the head wants something different to the heart, and the gut is. So the work that we do as brain coaches is getting coherence. And so there's a process. The process that I guided you all through in that workshop was being able to, first of all, start here. So ask questions around, what does the heart truly desire and want? We start there first. Again, because this is the vision, right? And then once we've got the answer from the heart, then we're going down into gut. What do you need? And we want to get agreement between these intelligences. And then we're coming up to the head. What do you think about what heart and gut have shared? And we're taking you through a process. And I think of it as like an infinity loop. So we're coming back to each intelligence separately and checking in with what do you want? What do you need? What do you think? Until we get coherence. And it doesn't take long, but it's spending a few moments with each intelligence individually before we get that coherence. And we can go, okay, cool. I want this. I need this. I think this. Now we have coherence that we can move forwards with and take action on.
It's just incredible. So I'm going to put in the show notes link to the book and the program and all that stuff, so people can find out more. Amazing. And I think I know a couple of videos, so I'll throw that in the show notes also. Yeah, so now you taught this to me years ago. How are you evolving? Because ever since you taught this to me, people talk about probiotics and gut health, right? Because our moods, our well-being, everything seems to stem from our gut. So people are starting to realize that there is an intelligence there, and it's important to take care of our gut. And so the science has really been flourishing around this. How are you evolving this in your practice and with your clients?
Before I go on to that, I want to backtrack slightly with people, science talking about gut health, and you've got heart math doing a lot of research and making strides in heart intelligence, and then of course you've got neuroscience. How embraining came about was the guys, so you've got Marvin and Grant, who developed embraining. They realized that the head guys, the heart guys, and the gut guys were doing amazing things, but they weren't communicating, so we had no coherence in science. So they were master NLP practitioners, I believe, and they realized that there was more to it. It wasn't just, so embraining, I think of like NLP for the entire body. So you were not just communicating here.
So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, thank you. And so think of neuro-linguistic programming for the heart and the gut as well. So that's like NLP to the next step is embraining. What I'm studying right now is actually Kundalini Yoga, which may seem like a sidestep, but actually this brings it all into play. Kundalini Yoga is like the umbrella yoga of all yogas, and integrates all of these things. Actually, it's ancient wisdom or ancient technologies for not just head, heart, gut, but for all of our bodies. So we're looking at kind of head, brain, body intelligence, we're looking at energy field, we're looking at higher consciousness. So that's the work that I'm really interested in and studying and teaching right now more than anything.
So yoga is on my whiteboard. I hate yoga. The only time I loved yoga was when I was in Hawaii, and an 85-year-old master taught a class, and I fell in love. I thought, oh, this is yoga. This is like, I just felt like a complete otherworldly experience. Never been able to have that again in any of the yoga classes I've ever gone to. But Sadhguru talks about Kundalini Yoga and how the positions and the poses are like tuning forks. Right, to wisdom, to life's energies and all that. And before anybody thinks that we're talking woo, we are an energy field, right? We do attract and repel, and how our well-being and our relationships are all energy based. Just think about mood or whatever, as the first level of your energy. So yoga is next for me, and you speaking about it, how has it helped you? How has it helped you further this?
Honestly, Kundalini Yoga has saved my life, and I don't say that lightly. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you know this, I have shared about it online. I had a real dark night of the soul, and I've been there before. I think a lot of us in personal development have. But end of 2018, beginning of 2019, I thought I was dying, like severe physical symptoms that turned out to be severe panic attacks, but I thought I was having heart attacks, strokes, like really, really bad. And Kundalini Yoga, there were many things that supported me. Kundalini Yoga was the one thing that helped me to balance my nervous system in the way that I needed to keep me grounded. And this is through the breath work, the chanting. It's very basic stuff. Like when you actually learn the postures, you can really integrate it into everyday life. It's not yoga in the traditional sense in the West, how we think of it. It's all the asanas, right? The postures. Kundalini Yoga is a lot more about breath work, about chanting, about the asanas as well. It's all of it. And like you say, it's like this tuning fork. It's about balancing your nervous system, having your head and your body be in coherence, amplifying your energy field so that you're protected and supported. And you talking about this sounds like woo because we're talking about energy here. Everything is energy, right? Like you say, everything. We are made up of energy. Every single thing in this world, in the universe, is energy. And so what we're doing with Kundalini Yoga, and what helped me from that breakdown that I experienced, was actually looking at, okay, where in my body is out of coherence? Where is my energy field not supporting me? Where is my physical body not in balance? So it's really, and I don't like that word balance, actually, more harmony, bringing harmony back to your being. So that sent me on the path 2 years ago. I'd practiced it for years before, on and off, but that was the thing that I turned to when I really needed that support. And I've practiced ever since, every day. And so now I'm going through the teacher training because it's so powerful, not just in a dark night of the soul, but in every day, amplifying your energy to the point that you are more magnetic to things that you want to manifest in your life, that you are able to navigate through life's challenges with more ease and grace. You are able to, and especially in this last year, I think that's what all of us need more than ever, is this grounding, this something to anchor us, to keep us balanced, to help our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And that's Kundalini Yoga for me. And so that's why I'm a practitioner and a teacher of that.
So I work with business people who would never take never glance in this direction. My start is usually, I just got promoted, I need leadership skills, or I'm running all these businesses and I'm overwhelmed and I need to change that, right? And one of the first things I teach everyone is to breathe. New York Jew who always lived from the neck up, never knew that there was a body, never knew that there was breath or anything like that. Right? I teach people to breathe from the belly. Very, very, very small, very simple adjustment. And it's game changing. It brings people a little bit more present. It gets them into their body, and it starts the process. You work with powerful people also, right? So, know the secrets of energy and all this stuff. How do you help people to, because the people who listen to my podcast often aren't the people who are going to yoga retreats and collecting crystals, but again, a businessman, a businesswoman is made of energy. How do we slowly step them into healing themselves and getting themselves into alignment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I totally get that. I work with a lot of lawyers and barristers and bankers and a lot of head brain people. And I was one. I used to work in corporate, so I get that.
That's why I wanted to ask you this, because you're such a powerful, hands-on, get shit done woman. So when someone like that actually, shows up and marries the two, it's always fascinating to me.
Well, I know, I was going to say, I think I know now. That's why at first I was like, why am I attracting all of these lawyers and bankers? Like, that's not, I consider myself more of a right brainer and very creative and spiritual. I was like, why, how come I'm attracting? And and that's why my brand is Fierce Femme, because that's me, right? I do work with both masculine and feminine energies, and I get the two because I've been in very masculine environments, and I'm talking energy here, I've worked in corporate. I'm amazing at getting shit done and making things happen. My introduction into this was burnout. And so 2018 wasn't my first dark night of the soul. Many years ago, I was burnt out from working too hard and pushing and forcing and striving and making things happen. And I was amazing at it. I still am, but I realized that will only take us so far before we do burn out, that kind of traditional paradigm of success. And I think more people are waking up to that fact now than ever before. We no longer want to work 18 hours a day for, a paycheck and the external trappings of success. We want more fulfillment. And so back to your kind of question of how does somebody begin? It's with the breath. It's what you said. It doesn't have to be, we don't go from corporate and not knowing anything about spirituality or energy straight into buying crystals and burning incense and yoga ashrams. but it's looking at what do I need to feel more of the way I want to feel. And actually, the way I start with my clients, particularly those who are more in their heads and perhaps in corporate environments, is the same as you. It's with breath work. It's a reconnection to self, and breath is our greatest anchor to that. It's our life force. Obviously, without breath, we don't live. But it's more conscious breathing, because most of us who are brilliant at making things happen and creating, and business owners or CEOs, we often aren't very present and grounded and connected to our breath. And like you say, it's a life changer when we can stop and slow things down and breathe from our belly. We automatically bring our head and our body into coherence actually from doing that. So the first part of embraining actually is balanced breathing, is breathing in slowly and steadily to the count of 6 and out slowly and steadily to the count of 6. And just doing that for 2 to 5 minutes will change your life, because what you're doing is balancing the nervous system, is allowing your head, your heart, and your gut to communicate. So if people listening to this take one thing away from this conversation, it's balanced breathing. Introduce that into your day and see what difference that makes.
I'm so glad, because we talk about, it gets overwhelming. If you go into nutrition, it's like, oh my God, I need to take probiotics and I need to do this and I should do keto and I should do intermittent fasting. And it's like, no, green leafy vegetables, lean meats, start there, get rid of the M&Ms. Just start there,
Yeah.
right? With this, you don't need to go learn Kundalini Yoga. Just start to breathe. I have one client, like all my clients are these heady, like I joke with New York Jews, right? New York finance Jews. I'm like, all right, your homework is to breathe 1 minute a day.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute a day. Like you just sit in your chair and just breathe for 1 minute. Like that's how I have to start slowly, because we're running and gunning so hard.
Yeah.
And the news, everything is just trying to get our attention and we never catch our breath.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful place for us to end this. So question, where can people find you?
Femme.co. So that's my main website. Instagram, I am Lou George, and both of those places you can find links to everything else.
So tell me what you're creating now. Where, so if people want to find you and want to play with you, what are you doing that is interesting?
Right now, I'm mostly working with women entrepreneurs in my sister mind. So I'm supporting groups of women who, it's very holistic. They come to me usually because they want to advance in their career or take their business to the next level. But actually, as you've heard from this conversation, the work that I do is actually about the way I can describe it best is helping people become their highest expression. That's how I play. Mostly with women. I work with men too, individually. So I work with a lot of high players, visionaries, people who are extremely ambitious, but I help them to create a life that feels as good as it looks. Ultimately.
Yeah, it's so funny because I would never ever use those words when I talk to people, but it's what I do. Yeah. Right. It's so funny because I walk into glass buildings. Well, not lately, but you walk into glass buildings in a suit and a gold watch, and you're not talking about, I really want to help expand your intuition and your connection.
No, exactly.
Right. It's like, how are you walking into this meeting? Let's talk about how you can change your state when you walk into a meeting. And we're having these conversations. It's so different. It's beautiful. So,
well, it's using different language for meeting people where they're at, essentially. I don't use that language all the time. If I'm working with someone, I worked with a barrister recently who was into spirituality, but only kind of just starting on that journey, I would say. So my language is very different. Like I say, I've been there, so I can use more corporate language and meet people where they're at. But where I'm at on my journey and who I mostly work with is people who are really curious to kind of go there with the energy work and working with higher dimensions and consciousness and that kind of stuff. So that's my language is quite woo these days.
I love it. Thank Louise. Thank you for bringing your brilliance. Thank you for changing my life, and just being a light. To use a cliche, just every time I see you, I'm so smitten with you. I'm glad I got to get this on video for posterity. Oh,
likewise. Like I just miss you so much, and I can't wait until we can actually get back together in person again. And we must actually have conversations more because we feel like we're connected all the time. But I love you, and likewise, you've had such a profound impact on my life as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And to everybody else, thank you for hanging with us. I love you so much. Have a great rest of the day.